You're watching ABC7 News at 7.
Important financial issues to address. And if we are spending every dime we have and then some, we are never going to be able to address some of the critical issues, financial issues, that are facing the city without going back to the taxpayer and asking for more.
For the first time in 5 years, the city of Sarasota is raising property taxes. Why? And how much more will you have to pay? Good evening, everyone. I'm Alan Cohen, and welcome to ABC 7 at 7. We'll have more on Sarasota's budget deficit in a moment. But first, our top stories at 7. How would you like to have a very public job performance review after months of spats and derision with your bosses and the guy who wears a badge? We begin tonight with what's been a challenging few months for the Sarasota County School Board and its superintendent. ABC7's Rick Adams is live at the school board chambers with an update on how it's all playing out. Rick.
Yeah, Alan, good evening. The Dr. Todd Bowden, the superintendent of the Sarasota County School Board, he just got out of that meeting, the evaluation. And what was that like, Superintendent, to have to go through this pretty intense evaluation?
Well, you know, I think like anyone in their professional career, you're evaluated on an annual basis, but typically it's a one-on-one conversation that takes place in private. But I guess one of the joys of working for an elected board is a very transparent process. And so today I had the opportunity to receive my first public performance evaluation.
Okay, and you did get a rating of 3 out of 5, which is effective in the end. And are you satisfied with that? It seemed like some of the board members were pretty critical.
You know, I think the evaluations reflected a variety of viewpoints. I think you have to respect those varied viewpoints and understand that people have different perspectives on your performance. I would say that I was not surprised by the evaluations I received today. It's reflective of some of the relationships that I have on the board.
Okay, and from here, move forward. I guess they were even talking about taking the firing out of the termination clause out of the contract and things like that. I guess it seems like there was a little bit of progress made here today.
Sure. And so, you know, to me, I just want security. I just want to know that I'm valued as a member of the team. And that's what I heard today is regardless of the form that takes, is the majority of the board saying that we're headed on the right track. And we want to provide security to the superintendent so that we can stay on this trajectory.
Okay, it seems like you can catch your breath a little bit. Long day. Yes. And that's Dr. Todd Bowden, superintendent of the Sarasota County School District. The latest, he just stepped out of this intense meeting, the evaluation. And that is the latest here. We'll have a lot more on this coming up tonight at 11 o'clock. Reporting live from Sarasota, I'm Rick Adams. Alan, back to you.
Rick, thank you. We now go to a terrible story out of Northport where the search for a missing toddler is over. Ava Natalia Perry was found dead in a canal about a half-mile away from her home. Police believe she fell into the fast-moving stream behind her house and got pulled south with the current. Police say Perry was still alive when rescue crews found her, and they did everything they could to try to save her. They performed CPR as they rushed her to the hospital, but Ava died around 1 o'clock this afternoon. You might have noticed when driving to work this morning, the police are pulling people over. Our producer Greg certainly found out. That's because police in the southeast are ramping up efforts to get drivers to slow down. They are calling it Operation Southern Shield. The week-long project targets speeders from Alabama to Georgia, South Carolina, Tennessee, and here in Florida. The crackdown began Monday and will run through Sunday, July 22nd. You have the chance to voice your opinion on Shark Fishing Week after several complaints and demands from the public on shark fishing bans. The Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission will talk to the public to decide what the new rules should be. One of the proposals the commission is considering would require a specific permit for land-based shark fishing. Other options include banning shark fishing from piers and bridges altogether.
We have, various angles to look at this from, both from, those that participate in the fishery, the fishermen, to those that maybe just want to enjoy the beach and want to go swimming, to those that are concerned about shark populations as a whole.
One of the workshops will be held at State College of Florida in Bradenton, and it happens at 6 p.m. tomorrow evening at the SCF Library and Learning Center. Manatee County Public Works will offer up to 10 sandbags per household for residents looking to prepare for severe weather. The sandbags are available on July 28th from 8 a.m. until noon at the county's new transit facility, and August 18th also from 8 a.m. until noon at the Bradenton Area Convention Center. Now let's head over to ABC7's Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan with the first alert forecast. Bob.
That's right, Alan. Flooding always a concern when there are tropical systems around, and also looks like nothing going on as far as that is concerned. We are looking for some heavy rain occasionally, but no long duration of sustained heavy rainfall anticipated. A brief shower or two, not out of the question. We already had seen a couple of those move through Anna Maria Island, also into Bradenton. Those have since moved on, and more little showers popping up here and there in the Gulf of Mexico. We have a trough of low pressure coming down the southeast United States, and this trough will continue to drop over into North Florida, and what that's done is it's suppressed this high pressure ridge, which is now down to the southwest of us. And typically this is in the normal summer set up to the northeast of us, providing us an east to southeasterly wind. It's not the case this year. We've had a lot of westerly onshore flow that's really increased the dew point temperature, and again, we're looking for the possibility of a few isolated showers and cells popping up here and there as they move off to the northeast, anywhere from 10 to 15 miles an hour. There's that little activity we saw earlier near Anna Maria Island. That has since moved into Polk County, and other showers, though, dotting the eastern portion of the Gulf of Mexico, which continues to move in our direction. They can pop up within a 10-15 minute time frame and then start to really produce a few lightning strikes. They haven't been sticking around all that long, but still they have been growing high enough to the 30,000 foot level to produce a few thunderstorms now and again. Currently it's hot out there. We have a dew point temperature of 75 degrees. It's warm and humid, and it's going to stay that way throughout most of the night. Download our weather app. I keep talking about this all the time. It's important. It's a valuable tool during this hurricane season, and hasn't been used much for hurricanes, but we're going to head into the peak of hurricane season, I should say. And so you just go to your app store and download the free program. Alan?
Thank you. For the first time in 5 years, the city of Sarasota is raising property taxes to balance the budget. Commissioners say the new tax is necessary to make up for a $900,000 budget deficit. ABC7's Taylor Torragano has more on where the budget gap came from and what this tax will increase look like for you. Taylor.
Good evening, Alan. For the average Sarasota person who owns a $400,000 home, this new tax will be an additional $36 per year. The city says it's to make up for the $900,000 it will cost them to take responsibility of 5 parks from the county.
Tish Stanhope and Amy Weber frequent Payne Park in Sarasota, but this was the first time they sat down to capture its beauty on canvas.
It means everything to me. I'm not much of a beach person anymore, so I like the green spaces and the nature.
Payne Park is one of 5 that will now be maintained by the city of Sarasota after the county could no longer afford them. But Mayor Liz Alpert says the city doesn't have the money in its own budget to cover the $900,000 additional dollars it will cost.
It made it a lot harder to balance the budget, and in order to balance our budget, the finance department proposed a very modest increase in the millage rate to help cover that.
To be exact, it's 0.0904% higher taxes for property owners. And for a homeowner with a $200,000 house, this will mean $18 more a year.
I think it's affordable for most people to be able to do that slight increase so that we can balance the budget and take on this extra expense.
But not everyone on the commission agrees.
Last year we had 8.7% higher property values than we did the year before. So that translated to about $3.2 million additional into this year's budget that we should be able to make ends meet with instead of raising taxes.
Commissioner Hagan Brody points out that there are several other proposed additions causing an imbalance to the general fund. In his opinion, there's a lot of extra fat that can be cut.
I do have ideas of what I think needs to be cut or what I don't think is appropriate to include if we're going to be asking the taxpayers to pay more. An example would be pay raises for the top level management and above.
But City Manager Tom Barwin, who presented the budget, says the reason there's not enough reserve funds isn't because of pay raises. It's because retirement and pension costs have spiked.
Now, we have had some property tax growth, and people rightly are asking, well, doesn't that growth cover the expenses that you have to cover? Not really. We have what we call legacy costs. We have pension funds, employee, retiree benefits, and those all took a nice jump.
Barwin says aside from the new parks, the only other additions they have in this year's budget is to the Sarasota Police Department.
We've added some additional resources in the police department. I think overall within the SPD, we might have 6 or 7 new positions. So that's really the only growth. Everything else is just really a transfer of responsibilities and costs from the county government to the city government, and we needed a way to cover those costs.
To maintain Payne Park, Arlington Park, Centennial Park, Ken Thompson Park, and the Sarasota Lawn Bowling Club, the Parks and Recreation Director says he will need to hire an additional 28 part and full-time staff members too.
We have multiple maintenance positions to maintain the facility inside and then the parks outside. Then, of course, we have to have someone to manage and oversee those properties.
And though the city already has resources to maintain its other parks, Vogel says it's not enough.
Years back, we actually had about 60 landscape personnel. We have in the 30s now. So we're really short-staffed right now, and so to be able to take those staff and make them stretch even further, you're not going to get the same level of service that I think our citizens expect.
While some citizens are angry, saying even if it is a small raise in taxes, it's the principle. For others, it's an additional cost they're willing to pay.
It is worth it. I don't care. If they raise $18, oh well.
And there's still time for your voice to be heard. The city will be holding 2 public workshops to discuss the budget before voting to adopt it on September 4th and 17th.
Taylor, thank you. The trapezoid in a moment. Stay with us.
When my youngest, Addie, was 2.5, she was diagnosed with leukemia. When we first heard that diagnosis, you feel extremely alone. Walking in that Light the Night light with 6,000 people carrying lights, white for survivors, red for supporters, gold in memory of those who have passed. It's the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society's hope that every year there are fewer gold lanterns. Your lantern will make a difference.
Start a team, join a team.
Help us light the night.
Did you know you could get life insurance for less than 32 cents a day? With guaranteed acceptance whole life insurance through TruStage, you can get up to $25,000 in protection with a single phone call, and you cannot be turned down for any reason. Even if you have health problems or are living on a fixed income, guaranteed acceptance whole life insurance policies could work for you, with prices starting at less than 32 cents a day. That's as low as $9.40 a month. TruStage can help free your family from immediate financial stress when you're gone.
Utility bills, mortgages, car payments, those are a lot of things that can add up pretty fast.
My mom didn't have life insurance and the cost all fell on me. And that's expensive. We're still paying for that.
Yeah, we're still paying for that.
Call 1-800-218-4991 now. In one phone call, you can help prepare your family with protection amounts up to $25,000. There are no medical tests or health questions. And remember, you cannot be turned down for any reason. In fact, TruStage policies are already protecting over 18 million Americans. And rates are designed to be affordable, starting at less than 32 cents a day. That's as low as $9.40 a month. Plus, your price will never increase and your benefit will never decrease.
When I leave, everything will be taken care of for them.
Call 1-800-218-4991 now for a free, no-obligation quote. TruStage offers plans to fit your budget with prices starting at less than 32 cents a day. Help protect your family from immediate financial burdens after you're gone with guaranteed acceptance whole life insurance through TruStage. Call 1-800-218-4991 now.
The following message is brought to you by Mesobook.com.
People who have been diagnosed with mesothelioma have many questions.
How did I get this disease? What are my treatment options? How will this affect my loved ones? You need answers, which is why we offer a free book written by medical professionals who have treated mesothelioma.
Call toll-free at 1-800-777-1366 or go to mesobook.com.
Welcome back. Two phrases no resident of any city wants to hear about their local government: budget deficit and tax increase. If you live in Sarasota, you get both. Property taxes will go up next year to cover a $914,000 hole in the city's $73 million budget. How does this happen at a time when the economy is doing reasonably well? Well, there are the parks the city took over from the county, which couldn't afford to keep them up. And then there is the city-owned Bobby Jones Golf Course, which needs $650,000 in funds next year compared to $375,000 this year. Joining us for more are Martin High, the local businessman who ran for the city commission, and Kathy Antunes, the host of The Detail on WSRQ Radio. Welcome to you both, and I want to thank you for being here because many of our elected officials who voted on this would not.
Yeah.
Like none of them.
Nobody wants to talk about it.
And Martin, I guess, well, the vote has already been taken. Yeah. The property tax will go up. I mean, is it fair to say it was debated? This, the commissioners, voters voted for them, and that's all there is?
Well, that's one way to look at it. In truth, the budget's set by the staff and by the city management, 229 million, not 67 million. We have our utilities, we have a lot of other sources of income, and 99.96% of what was presented in the workshops got passed. The only thing that didn't get passed was body cameras for the police department.
Kathy, I want to get into some of these details in a moment, but first I want to ask you, given that the economy has recovered to the degree that it has, how do cities like Sarasota find itself in deficit and needing to raise property tax?
Well, you got to go back to the late 70s when the cities, Longboat, Venice, Northport, and the city of Sarasota sued the county for dual taxation. They said, are we getting what we're paying for? We're paying for services we're not receiving. That went all the way to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court said to the cities, you're right, you're paying full freight and you're not getting services. And that's why the county was paying for city parks. Now they're saying they can't afford it anymore. No, they don't want to pay for it. But you know what? A big chunk of my tax bill is from the county. I'm paying full freight for county parks. Seems to me the county should be paying.
All right, we just have to take a quick pause. Our conversation on Sarasota's budget deficit will continue right after we get a check with the First Alert forecast with Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan.
Thanks, Ellen. Now we are looking at some clouds and showers occasionally moving on shore. Here's one right there, Anna Maria, around 4:30, 5 o'clock, and then it moved through. Another one came by after that. A few lightning strikes occurred with it, but you'll notice they're quick hitters. They're not sticking around very long, so we're not anticipating a big flooding problem, but we will see these storms occasionally pop up overnight and during the morning as well along the coast. But then the afternoon, most of the storms will be inland, and those will be a little heavier. Obviously, the heat index is always a factor this time of year, and it will be again tomorrow and continue with this west wind all the way through Sunday. We're talking 100 to 105 degrees from noon on about till 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It'll be that high. A few overnight coastal storms, I mentioned, are possible with this setup in the atmosphere with that high pressure now bumped down to our south. There are the storms earlier kind of moved on and dissipated. Other storms popping up randomly across the Gulf of Mexico, so we'll look for that occasionally overnight, and there could be 1 or 2 strikes with those showers that push on through. The heaviest rain by far inland over northern portions of DeSoto County and Hardee counties. We are looking at a trough of low pressure where most of the rain will be to the north. That's where the more lift will be associated with that trough, and you'll see this kind of light up a little bit more so too as we move through Wednesday and even into Thursday. It's not going anywhere. It's going to get hung up over north central Florida, and so this kind of pattern will continue right through the weekend, it looks like, with occasional showers, and some of that rain could be heavy at times, but just for a brief period of time. And then looks as though this trough will eventually get out of here. This has been kind of a persistent feature of this summer thus far, the deep trough in the eastern states. And we are looking at normally a high pressure off the coast of Bermuda, which brings us that east to southeasterly winds. We see that big buildup into central Florida, and then the storminess come toward the coast late in the afternoon and evening here. That just hasn't been the case as of late. And we're about 2.5 inches below average for the year as far as rainfall goes. 77, it did rain in Jacksonville today, pretty heavy too. 77 there. Temperatures all into the mid to upper 80s along the coast and inland areas. 86 in Sebring, 88 in Arcadia, 88 in Northport now, and the Gulf water temperature at 88. Currently it's 87 at the airport. Feels like about 98 degrees or 96 degrees. It was 98 just about 15 minutes ago. No rain officially at the airport, although we did get a few showers at Anna Maria. Well, it's hot across the southern plains states, 102, although it has cooled in Kansas City. They were at 100 yesterday. 87 in St. Louis and 78. Nice day in Chicago. 79 there for a high tomorrow. 86 in Kansas City, and things staying rather seasonal across the Northeast. Boston at 82 degrees, Reno at 103 for a high temperature tomorrow. Well, we have that shower activity kind of dipping down with that trough in the jet stream over the southern plains and into the mid-Mississippi Valley. That will continue to spread to the southeast, so some pretty big rains expected into Georgia and throughout Alabama and Mississippi over the upcoming days. High fire danger continues over the Pacific Northwest and the mountains there and over the northern Rockies. Southwest winds for boaters to start things off, an occasional shower to dodge. Other than that, should be pretty calm out there. Seas running less than 2 feet in the morning, picking up though in the afternoon as those winds pick up to about 2-foot seas, and then we'll have a light chop to start the day, turning into a moderate chop by the afternoon. The 7-day forecast calling for a 40% chance for scattered showers, a few isolated thunderstorms, both on Wednesday and Thursday. Slips down a little bit on Friday and Saturday, and then back again we go Sunday through Tuesday of next week. Alan will be back with his guests right after this. Stick around.
Excuse me a minute. Hi, Dad. No, don't try to get up.
Hi, I'm Julie, a right-at-home caregiver. And if I'd been caring for Tom's dad, I would have noticed some dizziness that could lead to balance issues. That's because I'm trained to report any changes in behavior, no matter how small. So Tom could have peace of mind.
We'll be right there. We have to go.
Hey, Tom, you should try Right at Home. They're great for us.
The right care, right at home.
Soldiers in the Army National Guard serve to give back to their country and communities. Their part-time commitment qualifies them for an array of benefits, such as affordable health and life insurance benefits, education benefits, including tuition assistance, student loan repayment and GI Bill programs, a retirement plan based on part-time service, and VA home mortgages. Visit NationalGuard.com to learn more about all the benefits available in the Army National Guard.
Imagine a world filled with pillow fights, playgrounds, and the search for the perfect climbing tree. Every kid deserves that world, but 1 in 5 kids in America struggle with hunger. At No Kid Hungry, we're committed to creating a world where every kid eats healthy food every day. We raise funds, we help families, and we lift up communities.
Chris Domine is a husband, father, an athlete, even an Ironman. But 10 years ago, Chris's kidneys were failing.
The doctor said if you don't do dialysis, if you don't get a kidney transplant, you are going to die.
Then Chris received a second chance, made possible by an organ donor.
Your well-being changes from loss of hope to better times ahead.
Imagine what you could make possible. Learn more and sign up as an organ, eye, and tissue donor. Go to organdonor.gov.
Hunger is a growing problem in our area, and a huge number of Suncoast residents are suffering in silence.
It could be your coworker,
your child's classmate,
or your friend fighting to secure their next meal. But you can help.
ABC7 is partnering with local organizations to help feed the Suncoast.
Go to mysuncoast.com/hunger to join the fight. Help us.
Help the hungry.
WWSB ABC7 is an equal opportunity employer, and we're looking for qualified people to join our dynamic team. For a list of current openings and to apply online, visit www.mysuncoast.com/contact/employment. If you're a motivated team player and you want a rewarding career in a fun, fast-paced working environment, WWSB ABC7 could be the perfect fit for you. Check out our list of openings now.
We're talking about the city's budget deficit and tax increase in Sarasota, and joining us for more are Martin Hyde, the local businessman who ran for the city commission, and Kathy Antunes, the host of The Detail on WSRQ Radio. And Kathy, let me go back to you because you raised the issue of the county. They used to pay for upkeep of these parks. They basically pushed it off with some relief to the city. Obviously, the parks have to be kept up.
Right.
You know, as the city, you don't want them to fall into disrepair.
No.
So the question becomes, who pays for it?
Right. Well, you know, as a taxpayer, here's the thing. I think city taxpayers, yeah, I live in the city, but I also live in the county. And when I look at my tax bill, I'm paying full freight. I don't get a break on county taxes because I live in the city. So I'm paying full freight, we all are, for county parks. And it was under a lawsuit that the cities actually started getting money for their parks. And certainly county residents use city parks. So there's not a lot of common sense at the table, and certainly not a lot of respect for city taxpayers at the county level.
We're going to talk about a lot of the details here, and I also want to talk about the Bobby Jones golf course. But when it comes to what Kathy was just talking about, is it simply a matter of power play that the city commission has no ability to basically stick it to the county commission and say, look, you know, you're taking our tax money, you can't short us like this?
With a red-headed stepchild, there's no question about that. There's been a conflict between the city and the county for a long time. We're not getting our fair share. If you think about the bed taxes and everything else, we are the crown jewel economically, and we don't get it back. When it comes down to it, they are tapering. We are only actually on the hook for about 900 grand of the 2.1 million that it's projected to cost, and they have increased the general fund budget by 6.6 million. So there's still another 5.7 million dollars that no one wants to seem to talk about.
Kathy, I think you had a reaction to that.
Yeah, because we're not the red-headed stepchild. We're the gold mine.
We shouldn't.
The city is the gold mine for the county. When the city's growth pays for the county's sprawl, the city's walkable urban development generates way more tax revenue per acre than the county's auto-centric sprawl, traffic, congestion development. And taxpayers, especially those who live in the city and the county, must understand this.
Okay, we are just getting warmed up. Our conversation on Sarasota's budget deficit will continue after a quick break.
Did you know you could get life insurance for less than 32 cents a day? With guaranteed acceptance whole life insurance through TruStage, you can get up to $25,000 in protection with a single phone call. TruStage can help free your family from immediate financial stress when you're gone.
Utility bills, mortgages, car payments, those are a lot of things that can add up pretty fast.
And even if you're on a fixed income, prices fit your budget, starting at less than 32 cents a day. Plus, your price will never increase and your benefit will never decrease. And with no medical tests or health questions, you cannot be turned down for any reason. Call 1-800-842-7189. Now, for a free, no-obligation quote, TruStage offers plans to fit your budget. Help protect your family from immediate financial burdens after you're gone with guaranteed acceptance whole life insurance through TruStage. Call 1-800-842-7189 now.
Did you know that a dirty CPAP system can make you sick? If you knew what could be growing in your mask and hose, it would keep you up at night. Now SoClean.com has released the world's first and only automated hands-free CPAP cleaner and sanitizer. With its patented design, SoClean is fast, effective, and hands-free, killing 99.9% of all CPAP germs. Try SoClean now through this special TV offer free for 30 days. Just call 800-604-0398.
My health has improved. It's simple to use, and I'm not worried about infections.
SoClean works on all CPAP machines and popular masks, destroying CPAP bacteria, viruses, and germs without the daily hassle of washing your system by hand. Just place your mask in, close the lid, and in just minutes, voila! Sanitized and ready to use. Try SoClean risk-free for 30 days. This is a limited time offer. Call now, 800-604-0398. Or visit SoClean.com today.
If you've been injured in an accident that wasn't your fault, and you're struggling to pay your bills while your case is dragging on, that's where Oasis Financial comes in. Only Oasis has Oasis Express Cash that can get you from $500 to $25,000 in as little as 24 hours, faster than anyone else. There's no risk and no out-of-pocket cost.
It was so simple. I made one phone call. Oasis was able to give me the money within 24 hours.
To pay for my electric bill, my rent, and my groceries for my children.
And even if you end up losing your case, Oasis lets you keep the money, so there's absolutely no risk to you. you don't have to worry about repaying Oasis.
If I had lost my case, then I wouldn't be responsible for paying the money back. And that was a blessing.
Oasis, they killed it, man. They helped me out. They gave me my life back.
See how much money you can get before your case settles. Call Oasis Financial, because life moves faster than your case. 1-800-874-8185. 1-800-874-8185.
You're watching ABC7 News at 7:30.
Welcome back. We are talking about the budget deficit and tax increases in Sarasota. And joining us for more are Martin Hyde, a local businessman who ran for the City Commission, and Kathy Antunes, the host of The Detail on WSRQ Radio. Martin, one of the big ticket items that has often been talked about, including by Commissioner Brody, has been the Bobby Jones golf course. On one hand, I would imagine that, local residents want that golf course. It is less expensive to play at than the private golf courses around here. And then people like Hagan are openly say, why is the city involved in terms of a golf course?
Well, I mean, the golf course has been there for a long time, obviously since the 30s. When it comes down to it, things have changed. Sears was the #1 retailer in the country. Toys R Us was, Blockbuster was. Things changed. People aren't playing as much golf. That's a big factor. People's habits and behaviors have changed, and the number of rounds is down at Bobby Jones. They say it's because the courses are in bad condition. Chicken and egg, it's hard to say, but at this stage, it's been left so far. They're talking about $15 million. They already lost $650,000 this year. There almost seems no end in sight.
And Kathy, it seems to me that's the biggest chunk we're talking about here in this budget deficit.
Well, my understanding is, the immediate deficit is for those 5 parks. But if you want to speak to Bobby Jones, that's a golf course that's been around for 100 years. It has pretty important historic value. It also functions as a stormwater facility, and lots of wildlife are there. There's talk about putting trails throughout so there can be more enjoyment by the community. It's not just a golf course, and for many, many years, most of its existence, it's functioned at a profit. It's just been actually used as a cash cow by the city and not maintained properly. So knowing some golfers, I have to agree that the rate of golf in Florida, you can't compare the nation. We have a lot of golfers here, so it's not quite so simple.
And then there is everything else, and I saw Tom Barwin talk in Taylor's piece about the responsibility for pensions, and obviously that is a whole topic in an hour onto itself, and I think we have done that. But then Hagan Brody says, well, there should have been a lot of other things to cut that we didn't even get to, and as you pointed out, we're not even funding yet body cameras for police at a time in our nation's history where the public is pretty much demanding those things.
We added, in the time Tom Barwin's been here, according to the city's own figures just pulled out the other day, I said it was nearly 200, 167 the city says that they've added net in the last 5 years, and their argument is it's not as many as it was before the Great Recession. The math that the municipality is doing is how much can we get, and then how do we spend it, and that's the opposite way round that most people run their own finances. When it comes down to it, it's $229 million up from $202 million. They talk about a 3% increase in the millage rate, but property taxes, as Hagan said, have already gone up by
Don't you also have to
9.
take into consideration that the city has slowly recovered from the 2008 financial collapse, and the budget could and maybe even should go up because the city and its services was starved for so long.
We add nearly 9%. What we've added is a lot of management. We have 2 assistant city managers and a city manager. Another point they were making about the general raise, I have no problem people having a cost of living raise, but a lot of the people that live in the city are on a fixed income. They talk about it as not very much money, but it's not their money.
So Kathy, you speak to this for a moment, because a lot of people who are watching this right now, they're going to write in and they say, do not raise taxes, period. They don't want to hear what it's for and whether it's really needed or not. People, especially around here, think that they are overtaxed enough.
Yeah, well, I would say you have a point, and you need to look to your county commission, because we are paying full freight to the county, And they decided, you know, this interlocal agreement that was the result of a lawsuit in the late 70s expired in around 2012. And so the county, not only at the back end of the agreement, was not maintaining facilities properly. So, you know, if you're not going to be responsible in the next 5 years, you just start not maintaining things. And they're not feeling any responsibility to county taxpayers who live in the cities until city residents get on board.
But what about Martin's point that you know, we certainly are creating more positions within city government, and there are some raises going on there. How do you give even senior members of this government a raise while you're raising taxes?
Well, it's $36 a year for a $200,000 home. We're still in the bottom quartile of cities when it comes to millage rates. We need to look at the total picture. And we were operating with skeleton staff in, you know, when the economy took a big dive. People expect a high quality of life here. I know I do. And I feel that we are paying full freight. And if you really want to see a change in city budget deficits and more equity in taxation, that single-member districts for the county commission is an issue.
We happen to be doing that show on Thursday, but Martin, while I have you here, how about, I mean, should people's anger be in terms of how this budget was created and the problem within the city government, or does Kathy have a point that, you know, Sarasota should be sticking it to the county commission and say, you know, our tax money is going to you, we're not getting our money's worth?
That's a part of it, but it's not the whole part of it. You know, the city manager was on $208,000 a year. We have 15 people in the city making more than $120,000 a year. We're giving them automatic 3% raises. You know, the guy that's making 30 grand a year, that's $80 a month. The guy that's a city manager, he's going to get around about $500 a month. There's no equity there. There's no justification. He doesn't need that money.
Okay, we have to leave it there. We want to thank you both. Before we go, we want to share with you what some of our viewers had to say about last night's exclusive interview with former Senator and Governor Bob Graham. The former senator's visit comes as President Trump met with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Trump refusing to acknowledge Russia interfered in the 2016 presidential election, despite a federal grand jury indicting 12 Russians last week. Graham says it is time for Congress to get on the ball and hold Trump accountable on his stance with Russia. We went to Facebook for your thoughts, and Barbara says, I was glad you had him on today. Most of us are in shock at the treason committed today. It's a sad day in America. But Brian says Trump is turning out to be a great president. Glad to see him sit face to face and talk with the leaders of Russia and North Korea. Well, if you'd like to join the conversation on tonight's topic, just visit our Facebook page at facebook.com/mysuncoast.com.abc7. We want to thank Martin Hyde, a local businessman who ran for the City Commission, and Kathy Antunes, the host of The Detail on WSRQ Radio, for joining us tonight. When we return, we'll be joined by our consumer watchdog, Jerry Zivick, who will be here to discuss texting while driving in the state of Florida. Stay with us.
Sarasota Oxygen and CPAP is the largest locally owned CPAP supply company in the area. Is it time to replace your old equipment? The staff at Sarasota Oxygen and CPAP can show you the most up-to-date CPAP equipment and supplies to meet your sleep apnea needs, including portable travel devices and the SoClean automatic CPAP sanitizer. We serve all of Southwest Florida, giving the highest quality of care with the finest CPAP equipment. Please visit our website, sarasotacpap.com.
Hello, I'm John Merce. Rugs As Art is celebrating yet another anniversary, and I would personally like to thank each and every one of you for the many years of continuous support. All during the month of July, we're having a grand celebration. We have flooded our showroom with yellow tag specials, meaning more discounts and more savings than ever before, plus free padding. So don't miss this anniversary celebration at Rugs As Art, Sarasota's bigger and better area rug superstore.
Don't miss the exciting original musical review, Tops from Flops, playing July 11th through the 22nd at the Players Center. All the best songs from all the wrong shows from composers like Irving Berlin, Cole Porter, and more. Call 365-2494 or visit us at theplayers.org. You'll want to sing right along with Tops from Flops.
A
be right back.
Hi. You think you're probably sober?
Yeah.
But you're thinking about taking the back roads home, just in case. If you're probably sober, then why would you do that? Good choice.
Probably okay isn't okay. If you see a warning sign, stop and call a cab, a car, or a friend.
That's a full glass of wine. I'll be chatting you later.
The skills you develop as a soldier in the Army National Guard can give you a head start on your career. Gain practical experience with technology and equipment that will give you a leg up in the civilian world. Learn critical leadership skills and to be part of a team. Serve your community and your country part-time while earning money for an education. Visit NationalGuard.com to learn about the paid training and career opportunities available to you in the Army National Guard.
Go back, everybody. Hold on. Texting while anchoring is a primary offense here at ABC7, but many states don't have laws or strict laws about this, including here in Florida, one of the most lenient states when it comes to using your cell phone while driving. How does it translate to accidents in Florida? And here to discuss this is that and more is our own consumer watchdog, Jerry Zivick. We were playing around there, and the people in the control room were flipping out because texting, whether you're anchoring or driving, can be very distracting. And Jerry, how do our laws here in Florida stack up against other states around the country?
Well, as you let in, Florida is one of the most lenient states in our country. There are 16 states that actually do not allow you to touch your cell phone while driving. But here in Florida, it's not even a primary offense. It's what's known as a secondary offense. So if an officer sees you texting while driving, they cannot even pull you over. You have to be speeding or run a stop sign before they can pull you over, and then they can give you a ticket for texting, but the fine is only $30.
So in short, we have stricter rules at ABC7, whereas if a news manager finds an anchor texting while anchoring, they're in a lot bigger trouble than you would be if you're taking your phone and texting on as you're driving on the way home.
Yes, in fact, since 2014, there have been laws introduced in the Florida legislature to try and rein in this texting while driving. There's no question that accidents are skyrocketing because of this, and people now have more smartphones than ever before.
So this has been debated in the state legislature for years, and we did have a law that was passed this past legislative session, but there was a lot of debate in terms of not only whether or not to make it a primary offense, but some civil rights aspects of it.
Well, the big debate is whether or not they'll use it to profile people and pull people over based on that. And that's really not a good argument, in my opinion. This is all about safety. If you're texting, there's been studies that have shown that you have 6 times more likelihood that you're going to be in an accident because you're distracted.
Well, actually, some of the civil rights organizations do believe there's validity to that argument here, but what is undeniable is the numbers of accidents and the percentages that are linked to people who are texting while driving.
Oh, it's skyrocketing. Florida does not keep any specific statistics on that. However, you can analogize distracted driving to texting, and those accident rates are going up at the rate of 4 times a year. So it's really an extraordinary rise in the amount of accidents that we're having.
So give me an example. Which state is the strictest when it comes to texting while driving? What kind of penalties do they have?
Oregon passed a law last year that you can't even touch your phone, and there's a fine of about $250. Points will go against your license, so it's a very costly thing to do. Hawaii also has very similar laws. You can't even talk or touch your phone. And there are statistics that show that accidents have been prevented because of that.
Well, that was my next question. What is the evidence that if these laws are abided by, that it absolutely reduces the number of accidents?
Well, both of those states have had fewer accidents than they've had before since they enacted these laws. And it's just common sense that if you're looking somewhere that you're distracted, if you're going at the rate of 35 miles an hour and you're involved in a head-on collision, that collision is actually strong enough to rip your aorta out of your heart.
Oh, that's a nice thought to consider. Going into the next legislative session, we saw what happened this past year. Do you believe that there's any effort that will once again be directed in terms of making it, more teeth?
Well, every year, as I said, there's always legislation introduced. What I've been reading is they're going to probably make it a primary offense, but it won't be a moving offense, and the fine is only going to be $25 or $30, similar to Alabama's law. So it's moving in the right direction, but I think we're still years away from actually enacting a law against texting with real teeth in it.
All right, Jerry, thank you very much. Jerry Zivik joins us every other Tuesday to discuss consumer issues and how they can affect you. When we return, President Trump back in Washington today. What did he have to say now about meeting with Putin? Your primary headlines are coming up in a moment, but right now let's get a final check on our first alert forecast with Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan.
Thanks, Helen. We are looking at a photo of a cloud formation this morning taken at Venice by Tina Felton. I always get a kick out of all the different images that I can see from different cloud formations. This one looks like Patrick from SpongeBob SquarePants, kind of making a splash onto that house right there. You can make up your mind as well. Beautiful sunset last night. I don't think we're going to see as good a sunset tonight because there's a lot of clouds around. And this is the tower cam as we take a review from 7:05 this evening. You can see some high clouds around and then some low clouds coming in from the southwest. Occasionally, these will bring a burst of a shower or two and maybe even an occasional lightning strike. We've seen this happen earlier today in Anna Maria Island. A couple of cells moved through, produced about all told 12 different lightning strikes, and not a lot like we're seeing in the interior portions of our viewing area as well as into central Florida. A lot more activity there just because of that west wind kind of butting up against their sea breeze, which is the, again, East Coast sea breeze developing, which is a reverse to what we normally see here. Typically, we get lit up with heavy storms here along the coast in the late afternoon and evening. There's one little shower that popped up here in the last 10 minutes in East Manatee County. Others dotting the eastern portion of the Gulf of Mexico. There hasn't been a whole lot of rainfall either. A few showers into northern portions of Hardee County brought some heavier rain earlier. Now, this trough of low pressure, which has kind of changed everything up, is going to stick around too. It's not moving and it's not going to move off into the Atlantic anytime soon. And that means a steady west wind, which also means higher humidity at night. Typically these afternoon and evening storms cool us down for a nice pleasant evening. Talking mid-70s and lower dew points, but not the case. Low temperatures tonight will be around 80 degrees. It'll feel like 90 at 11 o'clock tonight in places across the Suncoast. You can see the scattered showers continue to occasionally move on shore, not a lot. Well, there's not a lot of tropical activity right now, and the good news is that all the indicators are suggesting a below average season, in fact, a well below average hurricane season during the peak of it. We'll keep an eye on that for you. We've already had Alberto, Beryl, a Category 1 storm, and Chris, a Category 2 storm. Ahead of schedule. Typically, we don't get 3 named storms until about 2 weeks into August, so it's got a quick start, but maybe a pretty calm finish. We'll see how that plays out. The next named storm will be Debbie and then Ernesto, and the projection is for below average, but I think this number may be even a little too high at 11. We'll see how it goes. We've already had 3 of those 11, so we can count on, again, 8 named storms to continue. Now, as far as the 7-day forecast goes, we'll show you that real quickly. A 40% chance for scattered showers overnight. An isolated cell not out of the question, and we could hear some rumble of thunder, but most areas will just see showers. 40% chance on Thursday, and a little drier air starts to settle in on Friday and Saturday. The rain chance dropping down to 20%. There'll still be a couple around, but not a lot. The weekend looks pretty good, though. Sunday, we'll still be in that pattern with a few morning showers around. I think by the weekend, after the weekend is over, we'll start to get more in those afternoon and evening storms for us here along the Suncoast. Alan will be back with primetime headlines right after this. Stick around.
July 9th, 2018, an application was filed with the Federal Communications Commission for consent to assign the license of WWSB Channel 24, Sarasota, Florida, from WWSB License Subsidiary LLC Assignor to Gray Television Licensee LLC Assignee. A copy of that application and related material is available for public inspection at www.fcc.gov. The officers, directors, and 5% or greater shareholders of the Assignor are WWSB LLC, TV3 LLC, Raycom TV Broadcasting LLC, TV Stations Holdings LLC, Raycom Media Inc., Donald Patrick LaPlatney, Ellen M. B. Yelverton, Susanna Willingham, William R. McDowell, Diane S. Griswold, Kenneth C. Randall, John Lilly, John Stein, Barbara Thomas, Bruno Francisci, Wayne Doherty, George M. Phillip, George Wakefield Jr., Paul H. McTeer Jr., John C. Alexander, John Bradley Strait, Donald Richards, J. David Burke, Joseph G. Five-Ash III, Sandy Breland McNamara, Jeffrey Benninghoff, and Craig McCassell. The proposed assignee is wholly owned by Gray Television Group, Inc., which is wholly owned by WVLT-TV, Inc. WVLT-TV, Inc. is wholly owned by Gray Television, Inc. The proposed officers, directors, and 5% or greater shareholders of one or more of these entities are Jeff Anderson, Jay Barton, Jim Beck, James Berman, Spencer Bienvenu, Richard L. Boger, Kruger, Shannon Booth, Mike Braun, Roger Broke, Julia Campbell, Ulysses Carlini, Alan Chapman, Tim Coles, Greg Conklin, Jackson S. Cowart IV, Don Davies, Rick Dean, Tim DeFazio, T.L. Elder, Matt Eldridge, Christine W. Epps, Mike Bass, Chris Fidel, Robert J. Fillard III, Chris Fry, Luis A. Garcia, Mark Gettner, Michelle D. Goddard, Jan Goldstein, Chris Gross, Liz Holterwanger, Jasmine Harden, Richard B. Hare, Annette Heath, Hilton H. Howell Jr., Robin R. Howell, Matt Jaquaint, Nancy Johnson, Mike King, Michael King, Eric Krebs, Alan Lancaster, Kelly Landine, Donald Patrick LaPlatney, Kevin P. Latek, Steve Lavin, Kim Lee, Ken Long, Laura Long, Vance F. Luke, Nick Matisse, Wendy Mabranek, Brian McDonough, Terry McHugh, Paul McDare, Becky Meyer, Neil Middleton, Brad Moses, Matt Moran, Chris Mossman, Tim Myers, Elizabeth R. Newhoff, Howell W. Newton, Huey Norton, Mike Oates, John O'Brien, Brad O'Dill, Heather Peoples, Tom Pritz, Matt Fumo, Sasha Percival, Sue Ramsett, Rick Rhodes, Harriet R. Robinson, James C. Ryan, Barry Schemeyer, Bob Smith, Andrew Stewart, Stacy Stewart, Don Vesley, Peter Bateau, Louis Villarao, Tim Walker, Nick Waller, James Wareham, Treg White, Mike Wright, and Atlantic American Corporation.
When you are home alone, an emergency can become a tragedy. However, with any of Life Alert's 3 emergency systems, help can be summoned immediately, whether in the bathroom,
I've fallen in the shower.
at home,
Help! I've fallen and I can't get up.
and on the go.
Help! I've fallen in the park and I can't get up.
Don't worry, help is on the way.
Life Alert saves a life every 11 minutes.
For a free Life Alert brochure, call 1-800-518-0221. That's 1-800-518-0221. Call now, 1-800-518-0221. For a free brochure, call 1-800-518-0221.
I heard about the Detoli Cancer Center through friends of mine who had been treated here and were very pleased with the treatment.
If there is prostate cancer, we at the Detoli Cancer Center will find it using 3D color flow Doppler ultrasound.
And that helped precisely identify where my cancer was and some additional cancers that were not found during the biopsy. I would recommend the Detoli Cancer Center. As a group of human beings, they are unbelievably great.
Maybe you can make retirement happen. After all, you made her college years happen. Opening that education savings account when she was little. Spearheading a campus tour. And another, and another, and another, and another. Bam! Deciphering financial aid. She was like, what? But now she's like, you aced planning for college. Now get the tips you need to get on track at aceyourretirement.org.
I'm Anne. I'm a scientist.
Recycling takes a team.
Why don't you let me and me help you out?
Everyone plays a part. Don't trash
I love taking stuff apart and building new things out of it.
what could be treasure.
Pal's my most advanced android. This is awesome. You haven't seen anything yet.
Give your cardboard box another life. Recycle.
Introducing the ABC7 First Alert Weather Tracker. This all-new mobile weather lab is just one more way. The team you trust is keeping you ahead of the storms. The ABC7 First Alert Weather Tracker, sponsored by Mr. Sparky, America's on-time electrician.
Checking primetime headlines, the president has returned to Washington and on Capitol Hill to meet with lawmakers following intense criticism from both sides of the aisle after he appeared to back President Putin and Russia over his own intelligence community's assessment of Russian meddling in the U.S. election. ABC's Serena Marshall has the latest from Washington.
It was a moment that caused outrage, but President Trump today attempting to offer a clarification.
I have full faith and support for America's great intelligence agencies.
He said the confusion all from a single slip of the tongue.
In a key sentence in my remarks, I said the word would instead of wouldn't.
The president citing a one-word regret, despite the fact he stood side by side with Russian President Putin without ever challenging him, even when asked, who does he believe?
I have President Putin. He just said it's not Russia. I will say this, I don't see any reason why it would be.
Today,
the sentence should have been, I don't see any reason why I wouldn't, or why it wouldn't be Russia.
Even with that cleanup, he still had a qualifier.
Russia's meddling in the 2016 election took place. Could be other people also.
Most in Washington outraged.
Yesterday, the president sided with the enemy who made an assault on our democracy.
The criticism didn't just come from Democrats.
Vladimir Putin does not share our interests. Vladimir Putin does not share our values. They did interfere in our elections. It's really clear.
And it really better not happen again in 2018.
I remain astonished that the president would choose to believe the assertions by President Putin.
Even from his favorite cable news channel, Fox.
That's what made his performance disgusting. I'm sorry, it's just the only way I feel. It's not a right or left thing to me, it's just wrong.
President Trump added that his administration will work aggressively to prevent any Russian interference in the 2018 midterms. Serena Marshall, ABC News, Washington.
MGM Resorts International, the owner of the Mandalay Bay Hotel in Las Vegas, is suing the victims of last October's mass shooting. According to court documents, the complaint says because of the post-9/11 Safety Act, MGM should not be held liable for deaths and injuries sustained in the attack. It says that the Safety Act limits liabilities arising from mass attacks in the U.S. where services certified by the Department of Homeland Security were deployed. 58 people were killed and hundreds were injured during the shooting. And that's all the time we have for this evening. I'm Alan Cohn. Thanks for joining us. Have a good night.